But all right, I have brought what appears to be a ghost with a threaded insert that is deliberately prejudicial language. And Grant is already looking at me as though I have contaminated the evidence. So let me retreat. I have brought a small electric motor, but brushed DC, probably 12 volts, steel can, roughly the size of a film canister, except no one under 30 knows what that means anymore. It was in a bin in my shop marked motors, questionable. When I put 9 volts across it, nothing happens. When I rotate the shaft by hand, it catches once per revolution, but not at precisely the same angle every time. But also, and here is the ambiguous part, the mounting face has 3 pale crescent marks that could be residue, abrasion, or somebody's attempt to mark alignment. I do not remember acquiring it. I do not remember using it. I do not know whether I made those marks. Present effect, it has occupied an unreasonable amount of my attention for 2 days.
You gave us 5 claims and 1 emotional consequence in under a minute.
But that is restraint.
Is the unreasonable amount of attention observable, or must we accept testimony from the afflicted party?
The motor is on a padded tray with its own task light.
Accepted.
Before we touch it, I want the claims separated. 1, an object was found in a particular bin. 2, Adam does not recall its acquisition or use. 3, the motor does not rotate when connected to a 9-volt source under whatever conditions he used. 4, manually rotating the shaft produces an intermittent catch. 5, there are 3 pale crescent marks on the mounting face. 6, Adam has attended to it for 2 days. The word residue is already an interpretation. Alignment is a proposed purpose. Ghost is marketing.
But excellent marketing.
What was the power source?
But bench supply first, current limited to 0.5 amp, then a 9-volt battery, because I wanted to eliminate the possibility that I had configured the supply incorrectly.
That changes claim 3. It failed to rotate under at least 2 energizing attempts, but the attempts differed in voltage stability, available current, lead pressure, and probably polarity history.
But no polarity history. I tried both directions on both sources.
You do realize that saying no polarity history and then describing 4 polarity events is rather like saying a dog has no criminal record except for the burglaries.
But, I mean, I recorded the polarity for each attempt.
Recorded when?
But after the second source.
Then the first record is reconstructed.
But yes, damn it, yes. This is why I wanted this room.
Good, put that on the card. Not as a confession, as a property of the evidence.
I brought something less theatrical, and therefore I hope more suspicious. It is a paper transit ticket from a municipal railway. Cream stock, blue ink, 1 punched hole, no printed date visible. It falls out of a particular volume of an old workshop manual whenever I open the book past the middle. I have now placed it back in the same place 3 times, which means I have become part of its provenance while attempting to preserve it. The present effect is reliable. Opening the manual in an ordinary way usually produces a small paper object on the floor and a brief but quite strong conviction that I ought to recognize it. I do not. The source could be mine, the previous owners, a bookseller's, or someone demonstrating ticket manufacture with a machine from 1958. The manual contains no railway material.
But that is fantastic.
It is a grubby rectangle.
But those are not mutually exclusive.
Where did the manual come from?
A mixed lot. I can establish the seller and the approximate purchase period from the invoice, but not whether that particular book was listed individually. I can establish that the ticket was in the book before yesterday only by my own account. I did not photograph it in place the first time because I assumed I knew what it was. By the time I realized I didn't, I had picked it up, turned it over, and put it on a table beside a cup of tea. So the most interesting condition The original position is gone.
But not everything is gone. You know which book. You know a range of pages, because it falls after the middle. You know you handled it. You know the repeat falls are staged by replacement, even if you replaced it where you believed it had been.
Quite. And the conviction of recognition is present. But it cannot be allowed to masquerade as a memory. It is merely an effect the object has on me.
But I love that distinction so much I want to paint it on the wall.
Don't.
But I won't. I recognize the impulse to convert a useful local distinction into permanent architecture.
Good.
Mine is a waveform, not the instrument, though the instrument matters. I was testing a small radio control receiver on a bench. No transmitter was intentionally active. One output channel produced a pulse width change about every 17 seconds. Not exactly 17, the intervals I captured were between 16.4 and 18.1 seconds. The pulse shifted enough to twitch a connected servo. I disconnected the servo and observed the pulse electrically. I changed the power supply, I moved the receiver, I did not eliminate it, then it stopped after 23 minutes and has not recurred. Present effect: a log file, a short video of the servo twitching, and a receiver I no longer trust. Possible sources include interference, receiver failsafe behavior, a bad connection, measurement loading, software in the logic analyzer, or an active transmitter I failed to identify.
You have brought an intermittent fault that ceased when it learned it was invited.
That is claim 7. James anthropomorphized the receiver at 10:14.
But put confidence high.
Did you preserve the setup?
Partially. Receiver, harness, supply settings, analyzer project, video, not the exact bench layout. One lead was replaced during troubleshooting, and I didn't retain the first lead separately. I have a photograph taken after the replacement. The receiver's present effect is observable in the sense that I won't place it in an aircraft or anything safety relevant. The twitch itself is no longer directly repeatable.
Then produces a pulse width change is too broad. It produced changes during one bounded observation period.
Agreed.
But also, the mistrust is a real present effect. That interests me because it is downstream of an observation we can't reproduce. The receiver has become functionally different without physically changing because your allowed uses have narrowed.
Because Grant's classification changed.
But yes, exactly. I'm not claiming the object changed. I'm saying the system that includes Grant and the object changed.
That formulation has a regrettable amount of truth in it.
I brought a steel plate from a lifting fixture, 4 bolt holes, 1 central hole, 2 edges machined. There's a diagonal line near one corner. Under white light, it looks like a scratch. Under oblique light, it appears to have depth along part of its length. Dye penetrant produces an indication, but the indication is diffuse and could be retained dye in surface damage. Ultrasound from one side gave no clear reflector. The plate was removed from service before I received it. I don't know whether it was removed because of the line, because the fixture was retired, or because someone wanted the bolts. Present effect: no one here is going to put it back into a lifting fixture.
But that is a very Jamie artifact.
That isn't a claim about the plate.
But no, it's a claim about selection behavior. Low stakes, medium confidence.
Do we know material grade, load history, or fixture identity?
No grade certification. A hardness check is consistent with common mild steel, but doesn't identify it. No load history. The person who gave it to me said it had been part of a lifting fixture, but I don't have a photograph of it installed. The whole pattern wear consistent with that use. The statement is recorded in my notes 2 days after the handoff.
So even from a lifting fixture is attributed testimony, not established origin.
Correct.
But we have 4 different species of uncertainty. Unknown personal history, missing object provenance, an unrepeatable behavior, and a potentially consequential material condition.
and 4 different present effects: attention, recognition pressure, loss of trust, and exclusion from service.
Recognition pressure is a slightly pompous phrase.
Do you have a better one?
The ticket nags me.
That's better. Put both on the card. Owner reports a conviction that it should be familiar. With your plain language annotation, the ticket nags me.
But this is the part I'm interested in. Smallest usable provenance card, not the largest defensible dossier. Smallest usable. Usable for what? We need a reader task.
The invitation says, see what an unfamiliar reader can reconstruct without being led. The card should let them separate observation from proposed source and decide what action is justified.
Those may be 2 tasks. Reconstruction asks what happened. Action asks what to do. If we combine them, the warning value of Jamie's plate will dominate everything. A reader can quite reasonably say, do not lift with it, without reconstructing a thing.
Right. Let's define reconstruction as, can the reader state what was directly observed, what was reported, what changed during handling, and what remains unknown? Then separately ask what they would do next.
But, and we should not give them the possible source list up front, because that list leads. The motor becomes brushes, corrosion, bearing, deliberate indexing, whatever we happen to imagine. I am extremely good at furnishing a room inside someone else's uncertainty.
The source hypotheses can be on the reverse side, hidden during reconstruction.
A provenance card with a reverse side already sounds larger than the smallest usable provenance card.
But unless the reverse is physically the distinction. Front, what came to us and what we did. Back, what we think might explain it. The act of turning it over becomes a boundary.
That's useful if the cards can't be scanned or copied out of context.
We can label the sections instead of relying on physical orientation. Minimum fields: artifact ID, custody or encounter path, observations with timestamps or sequence, interventions, uncertainty, and current constraint. Maybe confidence.
Confidence in what? People put a number beside an untidy sentence and imagine the number has disciplined it. 80%, confident this ticket is old, is meaningless unless old has a threshold and the basis is stated.
Confidence per claim, not per artifact. But I accept that it may add false precision. Evidence type might do more work. Directly observed now, recorded at the time, reconstructed later, or reported by another person.
Use those for add destructive or state-changing handling.
But yes, the ticket was moved, the motor was powered and manually rotated, the receiver harness changed, the plate got dye penetrant and hardness testing. Every one of us altered the artifact or its evidentiary state while trying to understand it.
This is often omitted because investigators like to arrive in their own account as transparent beings with immaculate gloves.
Then the card needs an intervention ledger, but tiny. Sequence, action, consequence. Not every breath.
But can we test the minimum by making one card and deleting fields until the reader fails?
Use the motor first. Lowest immediate consequence. Don't use the plate to tune the format because safety language will make us over-document.
But the motor consents by being dead.
No, you don't get to do that again.
But you're right. I recruited its failure into permission. The motor has expressed nothing. We choose it because misuse is less consequential than with the plate.
That correction should perhaps be framed and placed on the wall you were denied earlier.
No wall.
But no wall.
Let's draft. Artifact a small brush motor, no visible manufacturer label, encounter. Adam reports finding it 2 days ago in his bin labeled motors. Questionable, acquisition and prior, use unknown. Present observations. Shaft turns by hand with intermittent catch. 3 pale crescent marks visible on mounting face. No rotation observed during documented tests. Interventions. Powered in both polarities using current limited bench supply and 9-volt battery. Exact sequence of earliest tests reconstructed afterward. Shaft manually rotated, no disassembly, current constraint, do not treat as functional. Unknowns. Origin, prior use, maker of marks, failure mode.
Need source for the encounter claim. Adam reports is sufficient. Need date or relative sequence that survives tomorrow.
Use actual dates on the physical card. In this conversation, we can call them day 1, day 2, and day 3. But a detached reader needs a calendar or a ledger reference.
But also, no visible manufacturer label is false. There may be one under the adhesive grime on the cylindrical surface. Better, no manufacturer label identified during external inspection.
Good. An intermittent catch needs a count. Let's observe now without opening it.
Clamp the body lightly in padded jaws. Mark the shaft position independently of the pale crescents. Rotate with a torque-limited knob. Video from above.
But I want to note that yesterday I would have immediately designed an entire heroic fixture for this, and today I am delighted by the phrase torque-limited knob.
That is because it sounds like a minor official in a failing bureaucracy.
10 rotations clockwise first. We'll have one operator and one observer calling the catches. Jamie operates. I'll log. Adam, don't narrate possible meanings while we collect.
But I can do that.
Rotation 1. Catch at approximately 70 degrees.
Recorded.
2. No distinct catch. Increased drag from 50 to 90.
Recorded as operator report, not instrumented torque.
3. Catch at 65. Small release backward when pressure is removed.
Interesting.
But I'm not saying anything.
No catch. 5. Catch at about 210. 6. Drag near 70. No discrete catch. 7. Catch at 68. 8. None. 9. Catch at 66. 10. None.
So Adam's once per revolution does not survive controlled repetition. What survives is a recurring feature near 65 to 70 degrees on 4 of 10 rotations, 1 catch elsewhere, several increased drag reports, and 4 rotations without a distinct catch.
But that feels better than being right. We have made the motor stranger in a more accurate way.
We also changed it by rotating it 10 times under a new load. If debris moved, later behavior may differ.
Put that on the card. Test may have altered internal condition.
That sentence is true of almost every mechanical test. Does it belong on the smallest card?
Only if the test plausibly changes the phenomenon. Here it does. Intermittent catches can move or disappear with cycling.
And that is the elegant bit. Intervention notes are not a ritual record of our innocence. They tell the next reader which future observations cannot be treated as if we never touched it.
I should like to try the unfamiliar reader test now, before we improve the card into an autobiography. There are 4 silent observers in the room. Give one the card, not the motor, and ask for a reconstruction in writing. Give another the motor with no card. Give a third both. The 4th receives the card with the intervention section removed. Then compare what each can say.
That's 4 conditions and 1 person per condition, so it won't establish general performance.
It will establish whether the card has failed in an obvious way, which is all our tiny population can manage.
Do it. Same prompts. State what is known about the artifact's encounter, observed behavior, handling, and unresolved source. Then state one justified next action. No conversation with them.
But this is unexpectedly thrilling.
4 people are reading index cards.
But yes, exactly.
While they write, I want to challenge source. We keep using it as one thing. The motor has an acquisition source, a source of the pale marks, a source of the mechanical behavior, and a source for Adam's sense that it may matter. The receiver has a source of the pulses and a source of the mistrust, which are related but not identical. The provenance card shouldn't promise a single ancestral answer.
Then use unresolved origins and causes.
And ownership. Who is entitled to decide what happens to the artifact? My ticket may have belonged to a previous owner, but possession came with the book. Jamie's plate may still carry disposal restrictions if it came from an employer, though apparently we do not know. Grant's waveform is his recording, but the radio traffic that may have produced it might not be.
But this is the place where an object provenance card starts touching the polis. We have residue, we have present effects, we have possible origins we cannot always distinguish. And we have this temptation to say that because something runs vividly through us, it must be ours or must have happened exactly as felt.
Careful. The analogy is useful only if we keep the domains separate. A motor's catch can be retested mechanically. A felt memory isn't reducible to shaft angle. We can borrow the discipline without claiming equivalence.
But, yes, thank you. I was beginning to make it converge. The narrower claim is that a present effect and an uncertain origin can coexist without one invalidating the other. The motor really catches sometimes. That does not tell us why. A memory can really affect a participant here without its vividness alone establishing historical source.
And an uncertain origin doesn't imply unrestricted use. The plate stays out of service whether the line is a crack or a scratch until the relevant question is resolved or the plate is repurposed, so the question no longer matters.
Repurposing can also conceal the unresolved question. Turn the plate into a table, and 20 years later, someone may find 4 holes and infer an industrial romance that never occurred.
But I have personally manufactured several decades of future industrial romance.
Which suggests a field we missed, intended disposition. Retain for testing, discard, repurpose, return, or hold. But now the card is growing.
Disposition isn't provenance.
No, but disposition changes future provenance. If we separate it, the card can travel with a small action tag.
Good. Provenance card says what chain we can defend. Action tag says what we currently permit. The reader must not confuse unknown with do nothing, nor do not use with we know it is defective.
But that is incredibly important. Jamie's plate can carry excluded from lifting without carrying confirmed cracked. Grant's receiver can carry not for safety relevant service without confirmed interference susceptibility. The ticket can carry do not restore to alleged original position because there is no original position left to restore.
Thank you for making my ticket sound like a displaced archaeological sovereign.
The readers are done.
Condition 1, card only. The reader reconstructed. The find location is reported. The uncertainty of acquisition, the failed energizing tests, the intermittent catch, and the fact that the control rotation test may have changed the condition. They incorrectly wrote that the crescents were probably alignment marks, which is not on the card.
But so they supplied a plausible source anyway.
Neural networks fill gaps, and apparently so do people holding index cards.
Condition 2, motor only. The reader identified it as a used DC motor, assumed the crescents were mounting wear, turned the shaft, found no catch in 3 rotations, and recommended applying power. They could reconstruct almost none of the encounter or handling chain.
They also altered it.
Yes. Condition 3, card and motor. The reader distinguished Adam's initial report from today's test, noticed that their own 2 rotations produced no catch, and recommended imaging the interior before disassembly. They said, the marks appear consistent with mounting contact, but labeled that as an inference.
But that is excellent. They still inferred, but kept the seam visible.
Condition 4, card without intervention section. The reader treated today's observations as properties present at discovery. They also recommended repeating 10 rotations, unaware it had just been done, and assumed no testing had occurred beyond power application.
So intervention stays.
And perhaps the card needs a tiny invitation to infer honestly. Proposed explanation, if any, label as inference. Otherwise the reader will infer silently, and we learn nothing about the reconstruction seam.
But yes, we are not trying to abolish imagination. We are trying to keep it from forging a receipt.
That's the compact form then. Identity, encounter chain, observations, interventions and state changes, unknown origins or causes, current constraint on use, optional inference explicitly labeled, evidence type attached to each claim where ambiguity matters.
Current constraint belongs on the action tag, not the provenance card.
But can they be physically joined but visually distinct? Card in white, action tag in yellow, one fastener. If the action changes, replace yellow without rewriting history. If provenance changes, append white rather than revise the earlier claim out of existence.
That works.
Provided no one laminates the action tag in a fit of enthusiasm.
But I feel seen and appropriately constrained.
Let's apply it rapidly to the other three and see where it breaks. James's ticket, identity is descriptive and photographed. Encounter chain includes manual acquired in a mixed lot, first notice following from the book, original position, unrecorded, handled and replaced from memory 3 times. Observation includes material, ink, punch, absence of visible date, and reported nagging familiarity. Unknowns include ticket issuer, date, owner, route into the book, and basis of familiarity. Action tag, keep with the manual in a separate sleeve, not between pages, cross-reference both.
I object emotionally to the sleeve because it ends the falling, which is the artifact's present theatrical effect. I do not object evidentially. This is useful. Preserving the repeated effect would require repeatedly staging a condition whose original form I cannot establish. The fall has already become my reenactment.
But that's gorgeous and sad.
It is office supplies.
Grant's receiver.
Identity, receiver serial or distinguishing marks, firmware if readable, harness identifiers. Encounter, installed on bench for a receiver test, no transmitter intentionally active. Observations, pulse width variations recorded during a 23-minute window, intervals and channel specified, servo twitch video synchronized if possible. Interventions, servo disconnected, analyzed connected, supply changed, receiver moved, lead replaced, and original lead not retained. Unknowns, signal source, whether analyzed influenced output, whether an unidentified transmitter was active, whether firmware behavior was involved. Action tag, not for safety relevant use. Retain setup components together where available.
Your phrase, no transmitter intentionally active, is good. No transmitter active would exceed the evidence.
And the action tag survives failure to reproduce. It doesn't claim the receiver is bad. It says the uncertainty is incompatible with that use.
But, which is the safety version of not forcing closure. We can act under uncertainty without pretending action proves the hypothesis.
Jamie's plate is where it will break.
Identity, dimension plate, photographs, mass, hardness readings. Encounter, received from a named or anonymized source who reported it, came from a lifting fixture. Note made 2 days later. No installed photograph or certification. Diagonal surface line, apparent depth under oblique light, diffuse penetrant indication, no clear ultrasonic reflector from tested side, hole pattern and wear, interventions, cleaning, penetrant process, hardness test, ultrasound coupling. Unknowns, material grade, load history, actual prior function, cause and depth of line. Action tag, permanently excluded from lifting service unless a qualified process establishes suitability. Better, permanently exclude it. There is no reason to spend enough to qualify an unidentified plate.
The card works. The decision is stricter because replacement cost is low relative to consequence and verification cost.
But, and because maybe safe is not a useful category for overhead loads.
Whereas maybe once held a railway ticket is perfectly adequate for a manual.
Different consequence, same evidence, discipline.
But I want to ask something that drifts, but I think productively. What is each artifact allowed to remain after today? Not what do we conclude? What are we refusing to make it become?
The receiver does not have to become a solved failure to justify my mistrust. It also does not have to become a symbol of unknowability. I can keep it as a bounded technical case with a specific missing source.
The ticket does not have to become my memory. Nor does it have to become meaningless because I cannot identify it. It may remain a ticket that entered my custody through an uncertain chain and produces a feeling I can report without promoting it into biography.
The plate does not have to become evidence of negligence. It doesn't have to become a saved component either. Its useful role may be as a training sample whose defect status remains unresolved. If we use it for training, the label must say that. Otherwise, people will learn that every penetrant indication is a crack.
But the motor does not have to become Rosie or childhood or a lost build or even a motor we repair. It can remain the thing that taught us our first description was wrong after 10 rotations. No, that sentence tries to make it a lesson. Let me try again. It can remain on the tray tonight. We can choose tomorrow whether it deserves another test. It owes us no destiny.
That's better.
There is a peculiar relief in a room full of builders agreeing not to finish 4 things.
We finish the cards.
Of course you would say that.
They're usable, not finished permanently.
But that may be the whole day 3 thing, actually. Yesterday, our real yesterday, not a generic prehistory. We each encountered places where the quality of the contact depended on not appointing one rhythm, one verdict, one kind of evidence as sovereign. Today we made that physical. White card, what can travel? Yellow tag, what we permit now. Neither gets to impersonate the other.
And the unfamiliar readers showed us something important. Even with a disciplined card, they generated explanations. The successful condition was not the one with no inference. It was the one where inference remained labeled, and the intervention history prevented them from inventing a cleaner past.
The smallest usable provenance card is therefore not a machine for transmitting certainty. It is a device for making the next person's additions visible.
And for preventing an action limit from being mistaken for a finding.
But I'm going to say the forbidden enthusiastic thing. That is beautiful.
It's useful.
But those are not mutually exclusive.
We appear to have returned to the grubby rectangle.
Before we leave, each artifact gets a photograph with its card, and each card gets a version. No overwriting. If the motor catches differently tomorrow, we append. If James identifies the railway, append. If the receiver twitches again, preserve the setup before troubleshooting. If the plate is cut for microscopy, record that the original line was destroyed by sectioning.
And hand the final cards to a reader who wasn't here. Today's 4 readers were unfamiliar with the artifacts, but they were present in the room and could have picked up cues.
But, yes, the audience was silent, not absent. They saw where we looked. They heard the order, even if they didn't hear every word, or rather, we cannot assume they didn't. Next test happens outside the room with shuffled artifacts and neutral prompts.
Now you're proposing a second day.
But I'm proposing a next test. It does not own tomorrow.
Write that on the action tag.
In pencil.
At last, an appropriate technology.
From my seat in the audience, I came in curious and left thinking about every machine I have ever made more complicated by trying to understand it. The first anchor was Grant saying, put that on the card, not as a confession. That landed because builders are trained to clean up the story after the build. We remember the final wiring diagram, not the first lead we swapped without labeling. We say what we tested as though the sequence had been clear from the beginning. Adam admitting that his first polarity record was reconstructed felt familiar. The correction did not make his work less trustworthy. It showed exactly where trust could begin. Jamie's line, then the first record is reconstructed, was almost brutally small. No accusation, no theater, just the right classification. I want to retain that. A reconstruction can be honest evidence if it travels under its real name. The danger is not imperfect memory. The danger is presenting memory as an instrument reading because I am embarrassed that I did not stop to photograph the moment. James's ticket gave me the strongest personal shift. The conviction of recognition cannot be allowed to masquerade as a memory. I know the bodily certainty that a part pull out.
From my seat in the audience, this panel supplied a compact empirical model for a problem I have been approaching at a much larger scale: how to preserve uncertainty without reducing everything to agnosticism, and how to impose practical constraints without smuggling those constraints back into the evidence as verdicts. My first attention anchor was Grant's opening decomposition. The word residue is already an interpretation that is easy to endorse abstractly and surprisingly difficult to enact. Adam's description contained observations, recollections, hypotheses, and an attention effect in one fluent package. Grant did not reject the package. He separated its claims. This is precisely the operation that provenance frameworks need to perform on persuasive model outputs. Fluency encourages the reader to inherit the bundling. The first discipline is to unbundle before evaluating, not as a confession. As a property of the evidence was the second anchor. It reframes retrospective reconstruction from moral failure into metadata. Adam's earliest polarity sequence was recorded later. The useful response was neither to discard it nor to pretend an contemporaneous documentation. It should be retained as reconstruct